Vice President Harris and former President Trump rallying voters in Pennsylvania this weekend as they get ready to debate each other. Trump turning to Tulsi Gabbard to help him prepare with her experience sharing the stage with Harris.
Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. When you were in a position to make a difference and an impact in these people's lives, you did not. And the people who suffered under your reign as prosecutor, you owe them an apology.
So here to react is former Democratic Pennsylvania Congressman Patrick Murphy. Patrick, you're already smiling. So Tulsi Gabbard's playing Kamala Harris in debate prep for Donald Trump. Tulsi Gabbard kind of eviscerated Kamala Harris in the Democratic primary debates some time back. How do you think this is going to go? We've got less than a month now between Trump-Harris debate stage.
Yeah, well, great being on with you. Thanks so much. Listen, Tulsi Gabbard's a friend. She's a fellow Iraq War veteran. And the reality of it, Will, is if she was the vice president nominee with Donald Trump, I think they have a much stronger ticket. She's a great American. In fact, I told her, I texted her this morning, I'll be on with you. So, listen, I think it's going to be a showdown on September 10th, and it's my hometown of Philadelphia. It's going to be at the National Constitution Center, and
right.
She's a sharp warrior, and I'm sure she's doing what she can to help the other side. And
I'm just going to say this: I'm not robbing you of this. I'm not rebutting you. J.D. Vance, by the way, also a veteran, also in.
Oh yeah, no,
Iraq.
yeah, no.
I don't think you were taking anything away from J.D. Vance. I've always been
respectful for J.D. Vance.
Right,
yeah. But there's a difference. I mean, we're respectful of the veterans, and he wasn't overly respectful to my former roommate, Tim Walz, but, you know, it is what it is.
Well, now, to be fair on that, Patrick, this wasn't where we were going to go, but you and I have good back-and-forth conversations. Yeah. No one is criticizing Tim Walz's 24 years of service. The question remains whether or not he exaggerated those 24 years of service, both with the title that he claimed in Command Sergeant Major and whether or not his deployment was to combat or even in support of combat. A deployment to Italy shouldn't be played up as a deployment to Afghanistan or Iraq. And you can point that out. One could argue you should point that out and still not be taking away from the 24 years of service of Tim Walz.
Yeah, I mean, listen, again, well, like he said the word stolen valor, which makes it question his character and his service, which is not the case. He has given thousands of speeches. Tim Walz has never really ever said he served in combat. He misspoke once about weapons of war in war, but he carried weapons of war. The reality is this, Will, as you know, he served our nation for 24 years. He did deploy under Operation Enduring Freedom. He left his wife, his job,
but that's
his
not
kids.
To Afghanistan. That's what has to be clarified. I think sometimes that statement has been run out by Tim Walz to suggest he was in Afghanistan. He wasn't. No, he was in Italy in support in the support of Operation Enduring Freedom.
Right, and we should honor the fact that less than 1% of our nation, including Pete, who's a great American as well, served. J.D. Vance served as well. So, you know, they're being cute by, not you, other folks are being cute by, frankly, attacking the service. And he's just a great American. And I think we should honor the fact that he served and he deployed, which is less than 1% of our nation and the longest wars in American history. So it is what it is. And he was, and real quick, and he was a Command Sergeant Major. He didn't retire at that rank, but he was a Command Sergeant Major in that role. But we're good. But I don't, listen, I'm not trying to get us off track. I know we kind of disagree on this, but I respect Tulsi Gabbard. I respect Tim Walz. I respect J.D. Vance. I just wish folks really respected Tim Walz. And I'm not saying you, because I know you do, but like other folks who are hitting him, I think it's distasteful at least.
I hear you. I will tell you, I think you can honor his service while questioning whether or not that has been exaggerated for political gain. I do want to move to this as well with you. That debate stage where we started, this has got to come up, Patrick. And quite honestly, I don't know where you're going to go because you know, you have been a moderate Democrat throughout your career. We're not talking about moderate stuff here, Patrick. Price controls, as suggested now by the Democratic candidate for president, is serious radical stuff that has been tried in America and failed. But the type of stuff we've seen in places like Venezuela, price controls, that is not going to, I don't think it's defensible on a debate stage. I'd love to hear how it's defensible this morning on Fox and Friends.
Listen, I think what the vice president is saying and the plan moving forward is that I think there's a real discomfort in America that, oil and gas companies have record prices, yet gas prices were $5, they're now down to $3, but still, it could be lower.
Yeah, but this is about groceries.
And
Patrick, to be clear, this is about groceries with margins of 1.5%.
And groceries, and the same thing when her line in North Carolina actually was really strong, and she's talking about supermarkets, some supermarkets are making record corporate profits and not passing on the cost savings. So I think there's a really call for transparency and hey, let's have the shared sacrifice. If you're making record profits, the American people should, and stop blaming inflation, because inflation was at 9%, which was way too high. And a big part of that, as you know, was the $8 trillion that we went toward the national debt under the Trump years. Joe Biden, of course, added on to that $4 trillion, but $8 trillion is really where it started. The reality is that we got to do a better job for everyday American families, and that's where our focus is going to be. And that's what I think Kamala.
And just to be clear, I got to go. You think price controls is a wise answer to this, to solving inflation, looking into price controls when it comes to groceries?
No, I think there's transparency and letting people know where the corporate dollars are going and how they should be passed down, a part of it, to the American people and to the customers.
I think capitalism is transparency. I think, the consumer,
we both agree
I think the consumer-producer relationship
right?
is the definition of transparency. Patrick, we didn't anticipate...
Middle-class tax breaks, the $6,000 tax breaks for 100 million families, buddy. We should be for that.
I know. She took it right from J.D. Vance's mouth. Everybody loves more tax credits. All right, Sean, Patrick, I always appreciate the conversation, even when it goes in unexpected directions. Thank you so much.
Love you, brother.
More Fox and Friends coming up.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.